Hey, welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk. I'm your host, Jeff Hootselle. As you guys know, Tech Talk is a conversation show where we chat with IT leaders and subject matter experts, really in all fields of technology, hear about the cool things they're doing today, and talk to them about some of the current events and things that are in the news. We've always got fantastic guests on the show, and today is no different. We've got Warren Lenard from Byrider. He is the CIO of the company. Warren, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you inviting me to the show.
Yeah. So folks that may not be familiar with Byrider, maybe give them a little bit of background on the company and what you guys do.
Sure. Byrider is a buy here, pay here used car dealership. We cater to the subprime market. We're based here in Carmel, Indiana. Been in business for about 30 some odd years. Actually started out as JD Byrider, and last year we went through some rebranding and we dropped the JD, so we're Byrider.
Oh, very good. So Warren, we're talking to a lot of CIOs, a lot of IT leaders today about obviously the most obvious question of everything that's going on with COVID and how that's impacting the business world. I'm really interested from a leadership perspective, kind of your take and your perspective on how your role has changed and kind of how you've been adapting over the last several months with everything that's happening right now.
Sure. I mean, obviously this has been a significant game changer. Our business, like anybody else's business, was heavily impacted, and we worked around it, and that was really an impact in how we actually deal with our customers at the dealership level, and also how we work internally as an organization. As we were chatting before, we've migrated this company. About 80% of us now are work from home, and this was a traditional company that, by and large, people came to the office. When you came to work for Byrider, if you were relocation like I was, but I had relocated for another company, but we wanted our executives to be here. We wanted everybody to kind of be here, and we've done a complete 180, and we are now, like I said, about 80% work from home. I happen to be in the office. I'm only 5 minutes down the road, but it's worked out, and I think COVID and this whole thing that we have gone through has taught us a lot of really good lessons around collaboration and efficiency. And we've had to work through certain challenges, especially when dealing with our customers. How do you do remote car applications and dealers, and how do you get remote notary, delivery of cars, things like that. These are all challenges we need to work around. And as much as we're opening up our dealerships again and getting back to somewhat of a normal cadence, we're definitely not going to be going back to what was the norm. So we're establishing new norms, and I think we've reacted well as an organization.
Yeah, it sounds like you're focused on a couple areas, right? So there's one is the technology itself and the infrastructure and the applications that you use, but you mentioned the other side of this from a leadership standpoint is really how do you get adoption? How do you make that user experience, really good and enjoyable for the end user, that even though it's not how they've traditionally done it, they don't feel that brunt of that change, that still works and operates. Kind of, what's your approach from that standpoint of balancing those two worlds?
Well, I think they do go hand in hand. We have been, like many of your guests, we're at this point a cloud first. And when you think about the demographic of our customer, we also have to be, in anything that's customer facing, it's got to be mobile first. By and large, our customers, we know they have mobile devices. They may or may not have desktop computers. So the experience that we deliver to our customers is going to be predicated based upon the technologies we put in place. So this organization has historically been run by traditional systems that sat on-prem. I've been here for about a year and a half now and been steadily moving us forward into a cloud-first environment. So as we rebuild platforms and things of that nature, we do so in the cloud as microservices and then tie them back. And ultimately, our ultimate goal really is to retire all of the on-prem systems and be 100% in the cloud. That in turn will help us deliver an experience to our customers that we want to make easier, more frictionless, get them in and out of the dealership faster than they have historically been, so that it gives them a better customer experience while they're there. And then ongoing through some of the platforms we're developing, give them a better ongoing experience, whether they're making payments on their loans or whether they're scheduling service.
Yeah, it's interesting. So you talk about going to a cloud-first model, which I think a lot of folks are obviously being forced into, or hopefully have been ahead of the curve before all this came about. As you look at your role and you talk about the traditional ways IT was built, and you had infrastructure you built on-prem, you had teams that managed those devices and that infrastructure, made it work and kind of supported it and took care of the users. Now, to this model of pushing everything out to the cloud and maybe other strategic partners, how does that change your role, and how you approach things from a CIO perspective?
Well, I mean, I think it obviously changes the dynamic of the IT organization and the skills that you need on hand. So over time, you're doing less racking and stacking. You're definitely partnering with outside services. The concept of being lean and mean never changes, right? You're always asked to do more with less, I think, in any organization. So you have to really think through who are the people that I need on my staff versus what are the services that I can leverage on the outside to do that kind of day-to-day processes, whether it be network monitoring, systems monitoring. As you move things out, it really is about people who are going to be on your team, more partnering with the business and developing business applications and platforms that are going to better empower our business leaders and get them to a place where they can make more informed decisions. So it's really around strategy and building those things out, and less about kind of overall maintenance and upkeep on an infrastructure that might be on-prem that hopefully we'll get that out.
Yeah, so that's great. I think a lot of times we talk about kind of our highlight reels. It's kind of like social media, right? Nobody posts the bad stuff; they only post the great stuff that happens. As you look through this and what that transformation's been like, I always love to understand what maybe some lessons learned were there. Maybe what were some challenges you guys came across as you've made that migration, and things that, when you go forward and do it the next time, that you think would be a good lesson learned that you can take into the future. Do you have an example of one of those?
I don't know that this will answer the question directly, but I can tell you that, a big part of the lessons we have learned here as we move forward is around that partnership with the business. And more importantly, about setting expectations. I think, a lot of the challenges that many IT organizations fall, victim to, and we included, is that as you're going through this without setting proper expectations with the business, and so it's actually more than just partnering; it's setting those expectations. When that is aligned, you can move the ball much faster forward than when you have that misalignment. And to me, that's been one of the most important things we have learned here. Setting expectations, making sure there's alignment, making sure people are holding hands as they move forward in an agreement of how you're going to build out an application or buy another solution, and the expectation around what it's going to do for us and when it's going to be available is very critical, because when you have that aligned, everything else falls into place.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I think that buy-in of having the business being involved in the process and in the requirements building and in the decision-making process really pays dividends on the back end when you're trying to get adoption. At what point are you entering the business into those conversations about technology? Are you doing it right from the beginning, or is it you trying to get to a certain progress bar inside the the project you're trying to tackle, or what does that look like?
So yeah, our process, and that was one of the things when I came to Byrider, one of the things that I really brought to the table was around process and governance. It was kind of blatantly absent here. And what we have done is put together a series of meetings and groups that make sure that we are aligned right from the beginning. So to answer your question, yeah, we partner with the business right from the beginning. We are by and large agile in our development. And so we've got steering committee meetings that are made up of both IT and business folks, and our virtual teams that make up those individual squads that cater to that part of the business. And by meeting with them on a regular basis and having them involved right from the beginning, because that's where it really starts, right? The ideation and the brainstorming starts with the business. IT is not about creating solutions just for themselves. We're solutioning based upon business requirements. And so as we go through this with them, there's no point in us doing anything in a vacuum. So they are involved from the beginning. We have, again, these steering committee meetings where we meet once a month. We've got quarterly planning sessions where we actually bring the business in and develop that Kanban board right live while they're in the room, so that when folks leave the room, for instance, we just went through our quarterly planning sessions, no one is in the dark as to what we are going to be doing in Q3 across all of our teams. So they walk out of that room knowing what we're going to be doing, what their expectation should be, and then we publish it out after the fact. And then we have an IT governance meeting that runs every 2 weeks that not only goes over any new asks for approval or not, but also goes through a pretty deep status review on every one of our initiatives so that, again, everyone's in the know.
Man, it's great. It sounds like you're doing some good things up there to really change kind of the culture and the environment. I think the communication piece you're mentioning is just key. Get everybody on the same page early and get them all going in the same direction. So that's awesome. It's a great little nugget there. Hey, so Warren, I know a lot of people are probably interested with you. They're hearing all this great stuff you're talking about, where they can connect with you here and learn more. I know you got an upcoming speaking engagement, I think, with a virtual executive forum that folks can find you at.
Yes. So, well, I had done I had done a podcast with a group not too long ago that's up on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is, I'm very active on LinkedIn, so you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Also, feel free to reach out to me on email. It's wlenard@byrider.com, and I'd be happy to continue the conversation and connect with folks. I do it all the time. I also happen to be the president of the Indianapolis chapter of SIM. And SIM, for most of the IT folks, know what that organization's about. National organization, and we're always looking to enhance our chapter and involvement. So that's another way you can connect with me.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, we're happy to have you as part of our CIO community here and glad to have you on today and share some of your insights. So thanks so much for joining us.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Thank you. And thank you guys for tuning in for another Tech Talk. We'll look forward to catching you on the next one.